Welcome to R&R Living Life. It seems like everywhere we want to go in the Northern Territory, it's a long way, but Rick and I are no strangers to long distances, and we're quite looking forward to over 800 kilometres of highway over the next couple of days, where our route involves heading south from Litchfield to Pine Creek, Catherine, and then east on the Carpentaria Highway to Cape Crawford. While the distances between points of interest are relatively daunting, there's plenty to see on the way. From Litchfield Tourist Park we headed back through Batchelor to the Stuart Highway and then south towards Adelaide River. The scenic town was part of the original railway, with the old railway bridge and station now a museum, a major enterprise at the time of completion in 1889, servicing the southern goldfields. It also has a rich military history, as it was the site of a major military headquarters during World War II and was designated as a rest area for personnel serving in Darwin. To think that this small town, being just over 110 kilometres from Darwin, where additional rail sidings were built to service ambulance or hospital trains that brought wounded personnel to the field hospitals in the area, was only bombed once at the end of the war in 1943. Rick and I continued on through town, passing the turn-off to Grove Hill, now a ghost town, once a centre of mining operations, but today only a hotel with a few outbuildings survive. The town was once on the Stuart Highway before it was realigned to its current route. I am always fascinated by the vegetation in the areas we travel, their shape, leaves, structure, and where they grow. The trees of the top end aren't all the same, ranging from monsoon forests, woodlands, and cypress pine forest. Monsoon forests are water-hungry, densely growing trees and palms, while woodlands are water-efficient with scraggly-looking shrubs and trees, with some plants losing their leaves in the dry season to save water. Cypress pine forests are water-efficient pine-shaped trees that, despite their name and cone-like fruit, are not related to true pines. Smoke hazard today was impacting on the clarity of photos, but as we take each day as it comes, in all kinds of weather, it is what it is. The scenery was forever changing. We were passing through an area known for its Brahman-based breeding operations, significant pastoral stations, and specialised live export depots that underpin the economy of the territory. The country was tropical savanna, dotted with high-quality wetlands, where cattle are grazed on native and improved pasture during the wet season, with operations tailored to manage the intense tropical climate. We passed a sign announcing the resistant cattle boundary for ticks. Cattle ticks, the most serious external parasite of livestock in northern Australia, transmit the organisms that cause tick fever, which is a serious blood parasitic disease in cattle, often lethal to susceptible animals, or may suffer a severe loss of condition. Infected cattle lose condition due to tick worry and loss of blood. Heavy infestations can kill calves and even adult cattle, while animals in poor condition are especially vulnerable. Previously unexposed cattle become heavily infected until they build up a degree of resistance. We had continued on to Pine Creek, where we stopped to stretch our legs. Pine Creek is an interesting little town, with 2 outback pubs, mining displays, and a scattering of colonial buildings, making it a great place to stop and have morning tea. The huge colony of flying foxes in the nearby trees was quite unpleasant and noisy, but then that's flying foxes. Along the highway, the native grasses include golden beard grass, bunched spear grass, and kangaroo grass. Darwin stringybark and Darwin woollybutt trees dominated the tree layer. I was amazed to see black cockatoos again this morning, bringing back memories from my childhood. They are usually found in eucalypt woodlands and along watercourses. They are seed eaters and cavity nesters, and as such depend on trees with fairly large diameters. Just before Catherine we left the Stuart Highway and took Zimmerman Drive past mango orchards to cross the low-level bridge over the Catherine River. Built during the Second World War, the low-level bridge was built to enable traffic to cross. Unfortunately, being only 6 feet above the dry season water level, it is impassable during the majority of the wet season. Water originates in Arnhem Land, flows through Nitmaluk Gorge and passes through the town before joining the Daly River, where its journey of over 400 kilometres enters Anson Bay in the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf. Since the advent of the Catherine River Bridge in town, the low-level area has become a nature reserve. Under the low-level bridge is a weir where water cascades several feet to the lower level. As we had previously stayed in Catherine on a couple of other occasions, we did not stop long, only to refuel and restock before continuing on our way south. Our aim today was to make it as far as Gowrie airstrip, where we planned to camp overnight. We could see in quite a few spots along the highway where fire reduction burning was happening, some more recent than in other places. With the amount of dry feed around, it was not a surprise to us, though it did present the country from another perspective. On arriving in Mataranka, the roadside park was filled with quite a number of army vehicles, and having been through a town after the army, knew that there would be a considerable wait for refreshments at the roadhouse. Also, we had stopped there on our way north, so didn't bother stopping again. The further south along the highway we went, there was more evidence of reduction burning happening. We could see smoke, and as we got closer to Gowrie airstrip, a huge smoke cloud had formed, making us wonder just where the burning off was happening. We were looking forward to camping at Gowrie airstrip, one of the best preserved and easily accessed airstrips, about 10 kilometres north of Larrimah. But as we arrived, that was not going to happen, as fire reduction burning was in progress all along the road into the airstrip, so thought it was better to keep moving south. Rick and I did a quick check in Larrimah, where the Pink Panther Hotel's name harks back to a bygone era. Beside the hotel was the reclining Pink Panther statue and a 5-metre beer bottle, while further along were the railway siding and the museum, located in the heritage-listed World War II Larrimah telephone repeater station and powerhouse buildings, built in 1942. Beside the rail siding were information panels displaying the history of Larrimah repeater station, the origins of Larrimah, Larrimah's involvement in World War II, Gowrie and Burnham areas, and the railhead that was a vital road rail transshipment and refuelling depot and military staging camp. After another 40 kilometres, we parked up at Alexander Forest Rest Area. Before calling it a night, we wandered over to the memorial mark that points to near where Alexander Forrest reached the Overland Telegraph Line in August 1879, after he and his party had made an epic journey from De Grey on the West Australian coast. The following morning, though Rick and I were up early, station work was already in full swing, with mustering already having a mob of cattle in hand. Rick and I had discussed the route we would take as we returned south to Queensland. Having travelled the Stewart Highway north, we were looking forward to taking the Carpentaria Highway from Daly Waters Highway Inn to Cape Crawford. The Highway Inn is at the junction of the Stewart and Carpentaria Highways, connecting Darwin to Adelaide and east to the Queensland border. We had read reviews of the highway, but we were interested to see for ourselves. The Carpentaria Highway runs 380 kilometres from the Highway Inn to Borroloola, taking its name from the Gulf of Carpentaria. The highway also provides road access to the MacArthur River mineral deposits, the port facilities of Bing Bong, and is an important service route for the pastoral, tourism and agricultural sectors of the area. It is the most northerly route across this part of the continent, said to be passable year-round. Carpentaria Highway is a very scenic journey across the midsection of the Northern Territory, and from memory Rick and I thought that the road was totally bitumen, but narrow in parts, with a narrow one-lane strip of bitumen and one-lane bridges, so thought the road would still be, if not in better condition than in 1997. Were we in for a surprise? The highway started off in great condition, with the first 50 kilometres upgraded in 2024 and the second to the 140 kilometre mark completed in August 2025. The current stage from 140 to 175 kilometres was under construction and is expected to be completed in June 2026, so we were surprised by the amount of new road and then detours in good condition. Further work along the highway with the intersection of the Stewart and Carpentaria Highway currently in design stage and the final section of around 100 kilometres to the Tablelands Highway is in the planning and investigation stage, with no time frame mentioned. It seemed like it wasn't long before we came to a number of sidetracks where the upgrade was in progress, with the sealing of the road to a dual lane standard, meaning one sealed lane in each direction, so we got to see lots of large equipment in action. When it is finished, it will really improve the highway, making travelling this leg a smooth drive. But today it was not long before we were back on quite a narrow piece of bitumen with very rough sides, with sections in very poor condition, making getting off the highway difficult. There were more rough roads to look forward to in the coming next couple of days. Cattle stations along this section of the travels include predominantly large stations, including Shenandoah, Amanjimanji, Tanumbirini, Beetaloota and Carpentaria Downs. Amanjimanji Station is surrounded by Bulwaddy Conservation Reserve to the north, south and west, and abuts Tanumbirini Station to the northeast, Beetaloo to the southeast, Shenandoah to the west, and Nutwood Downs to the north. Amanjimanji currently occupies an area of just over 3,200 square kilometres and is situated on the Sturt Plateau bioregion. The landscape is mainly thin, infertile soils of mostly iron and aluminium, often found in hot, wet areas like the tropics, while vegetation types of mostly eucalypt woodland with large areas of fragmented stands of bulwaddy interspersed with lancewood, with smaller areas of grassland and herbage. Tanumbirini and nearby Forest Hill Station have a combined area of just over 5,500 square kilometres and are able to support approximately 40,000 head of cattle. Beetaloo Station covers an area of 10,500 square kilometres. The Carpentaria Highway crosses the property through the northeast corner, and the Newcastle Creek flows through a good portion of the lease from east to west. The station is situated in an area rich in natural gas, which can be exploited by fracking, which is causing controversy. The Northern Territory Government has approved hydraulic fracturing or fracking in the Beetaloo Basin, aiming for commercial production by 2026. Despite significant environmental, community and climate opposition, developers like Beetaloo Energy and Tamboran Resources are moving forward with exploration and pilot projects, citing economic benefits. But I wonder at what cost to the fragile environments of the area, with major risks including contamination of groundwater, excessive water usage, and impacts on local ecosystems, not to mention the release of greenhouse gas emissions. Having lived and worked in rural Australia, it does take up a certain type of person, one who is motivated and has the ability to adapt and cope with isolation to work here, whether as a machinery operator working on building roads or one of many jobs needed on cattle stations. To take on the challenges to work where dust, flies, heat, people with different personalities and long hot days requires immense mental fortitude and a belief in oneself to get the job done. I can honestly say the benefits are enormous, often in close-knit teams or communities where sharing tales of hard work, camaraderie and unforgettable moments are part of everyday life, and it is such a rewarding experience. We were now getting closer to the Heartbreak Hotel, Cape Crawford, where we will make camp for a couple of nights. The name Cape Crawford was given to the area by Lindsay Crawford, a pastoralist who discovered the lost city in the late 1880s. A cape is defined as a strip of land projecting into a body of water, unless you are in the Northern Territory. The MacArthur River follows the Abner Range just east of the Hotel Roadhouse and takes a dramatic right-hand turn, then heads north. At this point the land formation is typical of that of a cape, especially in the wet season, which is why Lindsay Crawford named it Cape Crawford. Around 100 kilometres from the ocean, many travellers think that Cape Crawford is a small town, but it is only a hotel, roadhouse, caravan park, located at the junction of the Carpentaria and Tablelands highways, and serves as a gateway to the spectacular and ancient 1.4 billion-year-old sandstone pillars resembling skyscrapers of the lost city in the Abner Range and nearby Limon National Park. The lost city covers an area of about 8 square kilometres, while the surrounding area is mostly savanna woodland, rock escarpments and of course waterfalls and waterholes. We were certainly looking forward to the green grassed area with big old trees offering shade to park up under, though do watch out for the big seed pods that drop from the trees. I hope you have enjoyed our travels along the Carpentaria Highway to Cape Crawford. Join us next time as we make our way to Borroloola, located in the Roper Gulf region, cross the MacArthur River to check out the start of the unsealed, corrugated and rocky dirt Wallagarang Road to the Queensland border, before returning back to Borroloola and Cape Crawford, then to make our slow and very rough in places trip down the Tablelands Highway. Give us a thumbs up if you have enjoyed this episode. Cheers for now. Live life to the full. Rick and Rosemary. R&R, living life.